Podcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good evening and welcome, and I appreciate you joining us here. Before we get started, we just want to cover a few minor things. I want to share with you about Starbridge. And our mission here at Starbridge, in case you're not familiar with us, is to partner with people who have disabilities in their families and others who support them to realize fulfilling possibilities in education, employment, health, and community living, and to transform communities to include everyone. Some of the things we do here at Starbridge is we actually touch more than 10,000 people each year. We cover the greater Rochester and Finger Lakes region with our parent centers. Some of the supports and services we offer are below, so you can check those out. And again, if you ever have more questions or want to know more about Starbridge, please go to our website at www.starbridgeinc.org or give us a call at 585-546-1700. My name is Laura Arrington, and I'm the Family and Youth Education Coordinator here at Starbridge, and I will be facilitating our training tonight. Before we get started, I wanted to go over a few housekeeping notes. We're going to go over how to ask questions in the questions pane. I'm going to talk to you about after the survey is done, or after this presentation is done, there'll be a survey with SurveyMonkey and a link. And I ask you to please take a moment to fill that out, and that helps us be able to bring these great webinars to you for free. So you can see up at the top, there's an orange button that you can use to collapse or expand. So if that information is bothering you, please feel free to collapse it. If you need to join the conference through audio and it's not coming through your computer well, you can click on mic or click on telephone. When you do click on the telephone, it will also give you a number in which you may call in at. Oh, I'm going to go back really quickly. Sorry, I apologize for that. Let me just go back and show you one more thing. Also, this is the questions pane, and I think it's important that if you have a question, please feel free to type it in, or if you're having technical difficulties, I will be checking that throughout the webinar. Also, we will be taking questions at the end, but as you go, please feel free to go ahead and type in your questions, and then I will read them in the order in which we receive them. Also, I want to show you the handouts. If you click on that, we will have two handouts. It will be the PowerPoint as well as a handout to go along with this. So before we get started, we always like to know a little bit about who is joining us. So I'm going to launch the first poll. And what we're asking is you to just take a moment and find out a little more about you. Are you a parent or family member? An individual with a disability, education professional, human service provider, or others? And I'm going to give everyone just a moment to go ahead and click on which one you feel most appropriately fits you. I know sometimes we're parents and professionals, but maybe the reason why you're listening in today. And it looks about 80% of the people have voted, so I'm just going to give it another moment. And I'm going to go ahead and close that poll. And I'd like to share the results with you. So it looks like 45% are parent or family members. We have 18% are educational professionals, 27% are human service providers, and 9% are others. So thank you so much. Let me hide that poll. And we just have one more question to talk to you about today. I'm going to go ahead and launch that poll. And we'd like to know the age of the family member with a disability, of the reason why you're checking in with us. 0 to 2 years old, 3 to 5 years old, 8 to 10 years old, and over 10 years old. So it looks like several of you have voted, and sometimes it may be hard because you may be calling about a group or more than one child. And so I'm going to give it just another moment to continue collecting those responses. And it looks like, almost everyone has voted. I'm going to go ahead and close that poll. And let me share those results with you. So it looks like 10% are 0 to 2, 70% are 3 to 5 years old, 30% are 8 to 10, and another 30% is over 10 years old. So thank you so much for sharing that information with us. I'm going to go ahead and hide that poll. And in just a moment, I'm going to go ahead and change over to our panelists, but give them just a minute to share a little bit about themselves. So in just a moment, Beth and Barbara will be bringing up their PowerPoint. And then once that's up, and it looks like we have that. So go ahead, Barbara, we're all set.
Okay.
Great, so good evening, everyone. My name is Beth Grier-Leva, and I'm the director of the Regional Early Childhood Direction Center, located at Monroe 1 BOCES. I've been with RECDC for the past 10 years, providing support to families and providers on the special education process. Previously coming to RECDC, I worked for over 20 years as a program administrator and social worker at special education preschool programs. For over 30 years, the Direction Center has been providing information, support, and referral assistance to families and providers who may have concerns about a child with a known disability, possible delays in development, or who may be at risk for developmental delays. The Direction Center serves an 11-county region, including Genesee, Livingston, Monroe, Ontario, Seneca, Wayne, Wyoming, Yates, Steuben, Schuyler, and Cayuga. We are part of a network that includes 14 other early childhood direction centers across New York State. Our services at the Direction Center are free and made possible by a contract from the New York State Education Department. I'm very happy to be a part of this webinar this evening.
And I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Barbara Wischnowski, and I joined the Regional Early Childhood Direction Center 2.5 years ago. My title at the Direction Center is an Early Childhood Specialist. Prior to joining Beth at the Early Childhood Direction Center, I worked for more than 20 years in an early childhood agency where I was the coordinator of the Preschool Evaluation Center and the preschool counseling services provided by our agency. There, I assisted parents and children through the preschool evaluation process, helping them gain access to preschool special education services from their school districts. My background is school counseling, and I help families understand New York State special education services, as well as helping them access supports from other community resources. So the goal of today's webinar is to explore how to help children develop social and emotional skills in the early childhood years. This workshop focuses on the social skills and emotional development children need in order to develop confidence, positive self-esteem, and to be successful as they grow. As part of this webinar, you'll have the opportunity to ask questions by typing them in, as Laura explained to you earlier. We will plan to save the questions until the end of the presentation and answer them all at the end so that we're able to get through all the material. You'll also be asked to complete an evaluation at the end of the webinar, or with the SurveyMonkey link. Once you complete that evaluation, you'll have access to some additional resources that you can download should you wish to do so. Those resources will provide you some additional information on some of the points that we're making in today's webinar. So why are we here? Why are we talking about this today? I think good understanding of social skills and social skill development leads to cooperation, warm relationships, feelings of worth, and positive self-image for both the child and the parent, and professionals, for those professionals that are joining us. Poor understanding leads to children who turn off to the messages, conflicts and opposing points of view between child and parent, or child and teacher or professional, and feelings of doubt and poor self-image for both the child and the parent. Excuse me. Good understanding means connection with others, and social skills are fostered and developed in young children. So although we're focusing our attention on understanding young children's social and emotional development and skills, we need to be aware that social, emotional, physical, language, and communication and cognitive capacities are deeply intertwined and equally important in ensuring the child's well-being, learning, and growth. So you can see that the circles all overlap. Children's development and learning in one area are influenced by what takes place in the other domains. So some examples might be, Do children have the communication skills and the ability to understand and engage in learning activities or social interactions? Is the activity within their cognitive ability? Can they physically engage in the activity? Adults must consider how they present information so as to be able to connect with children in meaningful ways, which then fosters their social emotional development. The term social emotional development refers to the developing capacity of a child from birth to age 5 to form close and secure adult and peer relationships, as well as to experience, regulate, and express emotions in socially and culturally appropriate ways, and also explore the environment and learn, all in the context of their family, community, and culture. Social and emotional development begins in the earliest moments. Infants learn through social interactions with the adults who care for them. Most babies are born with the ability to read basic social cues. Supporting young children's early social interactions helps them begin to understand their world and opens the door for early learning experiences. Children with a strong social and emotional foundation are more likely to graduate high school, go to college, and fare better on measures of overall wellness. So we're going to give you some definitions. So social development is a young child's ability to create and sustain social relationships with adults and other children. And the emotional development is the young child's ability to recognize, express, and manage their feelings to understand and respond to the feelings of others. The early relationships young children have with the caregivers in their lives form the basis for all other relationships and interactions. Healthy development in these areas are key to progress in all aspects of a child's growth and all future learning. Remember that overlapping diagram we showed a moment ago. In terms of social development, we must remember that as children grow older, their relationships with peers take on greater importance. Children who socialize well are generally well-liked and have plenty of opportunities to learn skills such as cooperation, negotiation, appreciation for other children's needs and rights, and the ability to sometimes put aside their own needs and wants to meet those of others. In terms of emotional development, a child needs to be able to express a full range of emotions, from joy to sadness to frustration and anger, in healthy and appropriate ways. This self-regulation is gradually attained throughout the early years. How a child feels about himself, whether he likes himself and thinks he can succeed at what he tries, is another important aspect of emotional development. Other words that relate to social emotional development can be categorized as relating to the self and to others. So some examples might be, when we're thinking about the self, we hear words like self-esteem, self-regulation, coping, problem-solving, motivation, persistence. When we think in terms of others, we think about relationships, understanding others' perspectives, and understanding others' emotions. Understanding children's development in the area of social and emotional development provides parents and other caregivers guidance on how to establish positive relationships with children from birth through the early years. This developmental process is the foundation for other growth and development in young children. Children are born with a need and a desire to connect with those around them. When children feel safe and secure in the relationships they have, these healthy personal connections will impact children's later positive attitudes and behavior, as well as their academic performance and career path into adulthood. Following today's webinar, there will be a series of handouts to help parents and other caregivers further understand young children's development. You'll have access to these handouts after completing the evaluation for the webinar. Temperament traits are another factor. Some children seem to be born with more easygoing temperaments and personalities. Other children are easily upset, being bothered by new situations and routines, as well as more challenging events. Children's personalities develop from what they inherit and from the environment in which they grow up. Adults cannot change the characteristics a child inherited, but there are ways to help children learn to manage stress and their emotions. Children with a naturally calm temperament are better able to handle changes and stress. That doesn't mean that these children never experience stress. They do. It just means that they're less likely to become overly agitated when small changes occur. Calm kids tend to sprout from calm families. Because a child often mirrors his or her parents' behavior, if parents act stressed, The child interprets this as an appropriate reaction to certain situations. This graphic really defines then 3 temperament types: flexible, fearful, and feisty. Acknowledging your child's temperament traits as well as your own temperament can help develop a good fit and help you adjust your temperament to meet your child's needs. Consider ways to adapt the daily schedule, routines, lighting, sound, pace, activity level, and stimulation in your home to best match your child's temperament. By focusing on the positive attributes of all the temperament traits rather than the more negative aspects, parents can help their children develop the social-emotional skills needed to be successful. There's a handout for this webinar which defines each of these temperament types in more detail so that you can do some assessing about yourself and your child and what those temperament traits might be for each of you. At the heart of it all is the family. A young child's first and primary teacher is the family they live with. Social and emotional development is central to all aspects of a child's growth, including intellectual, physical, behavioral, and moral development. Beginning from birth, nurturing relationships with caring adults is the essential ingredient to healthy human development. It takes a big heart to shape little minds. Healthy relationships are the foundation to building social-emotional skills in children. Early relationships are vital to a young child's development because they help wire the brain to trust others, to love, and to feel safe and secure. A young child's brain develops gradually in response to the experiences he or she has and to the environment. So consistent, secure relationships and environments are vital to helping young children develop their social-emotional well-being and social skills with those they interact with. The drive to explore and master one's environment is inborn in humans. Young children's active participation in their own learning and development is an important aspect of their mental health. The context of family and community is where young children learn to share and communicate their feelings and experiences with the significant others in their life. Children develop a sense of themselves as confident, effective, and valued through these experiences. Young children have basic needs. They need to eat, sleep, interact, and play. Adults need to provide opportunities to meet these basic needs through their responsive relationships. Relationships are different than from interactions. Relationships have emotional connection. They endure over time. They have special meaning between the two people. And they create memories and expectations in the minds of the people involved. Research indicates that teaching young children social skills that are needed to develop positive relationships serves as a buffer against the development of future problems. What happens when children don't have these skills? Problems with relationships in the early years increase the risk for emotional behavioral problems later in life. Delayed development can lead to severe problem behavior. Severe problem behaviors puts children at risk for social exclusion and academic failure. Social development is essential for school readiness and success. When thinking about relationships with children, there are other things about children to consider, such as what is this child's own personality and temperament? And do you as the parent understand how to be flexible with your approach, and can you accommodate their preferences to help your child feel more comfortable in situations or with requests while still accomplishing what needs to be done? That give and take. Key social-emotional skills needed for school are confidence, the capacity to develop positive relationships with peers and adults, concentration and persistence with challenging tasks, ability to effectively communicate emotions, ability to listen to instructions and be attentive, and ability to solve social problems. Effective guidance for young children lays the foundation of these skills, which have been identified as key skills to be successful in school and life. So how do we get there? Parents and caregivers help young children develop as they grow. The ultimate goal is to help children make friends and develop relationships in their family, as well as the larger community. You need to be able to express and manage or regulate their feelings and emotions, as well as be empathetic with the other people in their lives. They need to be able to explore their environments with feelings of trust and security, and they need to be able to follow directions and persist at difficult tasks. So what do we teach? Parents can help teach some of these key concepts for what needs to be taught and developed in young children. Understanding the self leads to confidence and competence. Understanding others leads to making friends and getting along with others. Following rules leads to following directions and cooperation. Problem solving leads to identifying solutions and making good choices. Identifying emotions leads to communicating feelings and empathy for others. And managing emotions leads to making friends, getting along with others, and expressing feelings in socially acceptable ways. This quote from Fred Rogers really says it all about play, which is what we're going to talk about next. Play is often talked about as if it were a relief from serious learning, but for children, play is serious learning. Play helps build a strong sense of self-confidence. It helps children learn about who they are in relation to others. Social exchanges through play involve listening, negotiating, and compromising. It helps children begin to think beyond their own needs. Working with others helps young children develop an awareness of differences in the people around them. These experiences in the preschool years provide a foundation for learning to solve problems and communicate with peers and other adults. Excuse me. Play can also help build positive leadership qualities for children who are naturally inclined to direct, but must learn to control their impulses. Play provides a forum for interacting with others and promotes independence and helps build confidence and competence. Through play, children learn such skills as expressing and understanding emotions of self and others, sharing, problem solving, coping, and how to initiate positive interactions with others. Play that is imaginative and based in make-believe leads to empathy, cooperation, impulse control, reduced aggression, and overall better social-emotional well-being. Play provides opportunities for children to problem solve in a non-threatening environment. They work out their challenges in life through role play, and they learn about the reactions of others based on their interactions. So what is play? Play is fun and enjoyable and full of laughter and excitement. It is active and involves exploring, trying new things, curiosity, discovery, and problem solving. Play is child-directed, and children should choose how to play and what to play with. It's imaginative and full of pretend play. Planning isn't needed. It just happens, especially when the environment is set up for children to explore, investigate, and discover. Adults set up the environment with interesting materials, and children will use the toys and materials in creative ways. A large part of the child's day, each day, should be spent playing, and as children develop, they begin to role play through their play scenarios. There's some fundamentals of play. Children are playful by nature. Through play, children develop skills they will use later in their school years. Play is full of action and imagination and is really more than just fun and games, because the skills learned in the preschool years build the foundation for lifelong learning. Teaching through play is developmentally appropriate because play allows children to learn about themselves and others using their natural tendencies of how to make sense of their experiences through their play. Play provides opportunities in a safe environment to learn and practice coping, problem solving, and the art of getting along in group settings and the social environment. So there's a lot of value to play. It's their work, it's child's work. It's what they do in order to learn about their world. Play allows a child to learn and practice new skills in all areas of their development. It builds confidence and competency. Play provides a vehicle to interact with people and objects in their environment, and play promotes independence in completing life tasks as children use play to practice the skills they are learning. Physical play, providing active, large motor play, provides health benefits along with assistance with energy release and self-regulation skills in children. Physical play and play outdoors promotes team games to help teach young children about taking turns, sharing equipment, and understanding rules. Some toys and materials that encourage sharing and Turn taking are things such as balls and playground structures. There's also something to think about when we think about outdoor play. In neighborhoods without a usable park or playground, the incidence of childhood obesity increases by 29%. So there's a health benefit. It's more important to try and find some time to get outdoors for more than social skills. There's also health benefits to playing physically outdoors. Dramatic or dress-up play is rooted in social and emotional development. It is fantasy-directed, playing, dressing in costumes, assuming roles as characters, using toys to represent characters in stories, creating imaginary settings, and pretending to take on the roles of adults. Dramatic play allows children the opportunity to explore social relationships from their own perspective, as well as trying to understand the perspective of others when they take on those roles. Children work out anxiety and conflicts through play. Child counseling programs often use play materials and settings to allow children to work through issues they are facing. If adults take a step back and observe, you can sometimes see this process at work. In thinking about toys and activities for young children, think about providing variety and novelty. You can encourage curiosity with new items. Rotate toys occasionally and add new items. Remove worn-out toys. Rearrange the room and incorporate surprises to keep activities interesting and fun for young children. Blocks create opportunities for sharing space and materials and encourage cooperation among siblings or friends. Art activities can do this as well as sensory tables where materials are shared. Art and writing encourage children to express themselves. Open-ended toys. Being a fully developed person requires a combination of thinking, common sense, and experiences, as well as emotional regulation. Making choices, solving problems, and being creative can be enhanced by play throughout our lifetime, but especially in early childhood. Play that is independent, fostering inner reflection and awareness of feelings, helps children recognize their own emotions, their own feelings and thoughts, and how to control them. Independent play allows children to take charge of their activities and explore their environment at their own level and at their own speed. It helps develop self-motivation as well as self-esteem as they engage imagination and create their own forms of learning and fun. Play that encourages communication and teamwork by understanding interaction with others teaches children about group dynamics. Children learn to work collaboratively, share ideas, and take on responsibilities as a team member. Group play also encourages children to communicate their thoughts and feelings, helping them understand their input is essential to the outcomes. Families can find opportunities for group play at local parks or playgrounds, at library programs, as well as play with neighborhood children and parent-planned play dates. Having access to open-ended toys during these group times encourages children to be creative and to work together to create play scenarios. The kinds of open-ended toys might include blocks and Legos, puppets, dolls, cars, trucks, and other vehicles, art supplies. Again, open-ended toys stimulate curiosity, wonder, creativity, and discovery, reasoning and problem solving, sense of humor, and social skills like cooperation and turn-taking. Literature and stories. Book reading should be in a cozy, comfortable place where conversations can occur. Include books about friendship and emotions and other social skills lessons to encourage social emotional development of your young child. Many children's stories have these themes in them. Books can be used in so many ways to help support a young child's social emotional development. You could read stories with social challenges and lessons and talk with your child about what happened in the story. You can tell make-up stories that involve children's participation in problem solving. You can use props like puppets or other visuals to engage children in stories. Use question prompts such as, what would you do if you were so sad like the character in this book? This will help encourage problem solving and finding solutions. Write stories with children, have them help illustrate with drawings or other pictures. Create social stories of your own about any challenging topics. You could make friendship books about peers or classmates if they're in an early childhood setting. You can just have children create their own books. You can combine art and writing by acting as your child's scribe as he or she tells you about his creation. If you're looking for ideas of books that have some of these social emotional foundation in their story, this website is a good website to find a large list of books. There's a few examples here on the slide. They're a great way to engage children in teaching about emotion. Many books are written explicitly about feelings and contain numerous feeling words. Most of us already have books in our homes or at the local library, so this is an easy and fun way to be more intentional about supporting children's social emotional development. But again, look at the website if you're looking for other ideas. Using songs and activities is another way to think about teaching emotions. So in your handouts, you have this, if you're familiar with the song, You're Happy and You Know It, we've changed the words to a different emotion word and a different physical action. So that's an example that might be helpful if you're looking for other ways to entice your child. All right, I'm going to turn the PowerPoint over to Beth.
Thank you, Barbara. In just a moment, Beth will bring up her presentation, and she will share with us some more information on fostering social emotional skills in young children. So in just a moment, Beth, you will see something on there to make you so we can see your screen.
Okay. Okay, can you see it?
I don't see it yet.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's
It's
okay.
up on my screen, but it's not on yours.
Okay, I'm just going to switch over back to myself for just a moment, and then what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to send you another request.
Okay.
There we go. We can see your PowerPoint. Go ahead, Beth.
All right, we've gotten past the technical difficulty. Great. Next, we'll talk about how to set expectations to help young children understand and navigate through routines, schedules, and rules. When thinking about schedules and routines, it is helpful for young children to understand the schedule and routines they go through each day. Picture schedules, like the one you see here, can be combined with home routines to help children transition to and from home to other settings. A visual schedule helps children know and anticipate what comes next. This is especially helpful for young children who have difficulty transitioning from one setting to another. Adults can model social skills for young children, such as taking a break when upset or using deep breathing. Teach expectations to young children by talking about and reviewing every day before, during, and after activities. This is often helpful as it serves as a reminder about what is happening and what is coming next. Tell children what you want to see rather than always correcting is helpful to young children in learning what is expected of them. Use pictures and visuals as reminders often. This is especially helpful for young children so they have more than auditory input when learning new skills and understanding expectations. Use choices throughout the day as often as is possible for the activities your child is engaged in. Plan for and provide opportunities to practice rules and manners, expressing emotions, problem solving, coping skills, making choices, cooperation, and teamwork. When creating rules at home, keep rules simple. Start with just a few for young children and think about addressing the following: movement inside, the noise level, interactions with adults, interactions with siblings and friends, and interactions with pets and property. All behavior has a purpose. There is always a reason behind your child's behavior. Behavior tells us something. It can be a child's way of communicating. Think about what might be driving the behavior you're seeing. What is the purpose it serves for your child? To get something, such as attention, a toy, or food. To avoid something, such as work, the doctor, food, or bedtime. For sensory reasons, because it feels good, feels bad, it calms them, it overstimulates, or is not stimulating enough. Parents have to try and puzzle out the 5 W's of behavior. So think about, who does it happen with? Is it the same person? Is it only women? Is it only men? Does it happen with strangers, kids, parents, or teachers? What is the behavior we see? Describe it. Johnny spit at Mary 3 times versus Johnny is being bad. Where does it happen? At home, school, grandma's, shopping, inside or outside? Think about, when does it happen? The time of day. Is it early? Is it late? Before meals? The bus? A doctor's appointment? Or is it after meals, after school, or after a sibling comes home? Now we may begin to understand the why. When we try to change behavior, it tends to get worse before it gets better. Parents have to be consistent and stick with it. You'll find it's worth it in the end. Preventative strategies. Taking a break to regroup is a helpful coping strategy to teach young children. An adult might say, I'm mad and I just need to go sit down for a minute to calm down. Think about creating a special box of calming down things that a child can do when he or she takes a break. Help children learn how to take some deep breaths to help calm down. We have provided and developed a handout for you that you can use to help children learn how to do this. And you'll receive this handout after the webinar is completed and you have completed the evaluation. See how we keep saying the evaluation? Model or show your child what to do. Modeling involves demonstrating and verbalizing what you are doing or how you are doing something. Teaching young children to ask for help can be useful to circumvent frustration. An adult might say to a child, boy, this is really hard. I need some help from somebody. Who can I ask for help? Or, I need some help. Can you help me? Modeling the right behavior can help children learn expectations, as well as teaching children how to do things. Model taking a break and taking deep breaths to help you calm down when you are upset. Children are copycats. If we raise our voices, they will raise theirs. If we show them the right way to do things, they will copy us. Do as I say, not as I do, just doesn't work well with children. So think about your own behavior and what you can model to help children learn manners, how to do things, problem solve, and cope when you are upset. Well, teaching children how to get attention for good behavior helps prevent or reward the attention for poor behaviors by giving a child what they typically want, which is attention from you. Preventative strategies include positive reinforcement. Reinforce the good preferred behavior. Catching them being good by praising and or rewarding good behavior to increase the pro-social behavior you want to see is a proactive approach. Use hugs, smiles, high fives, or pats on the back as they do wonders for children's self-esteem. Give choices. Give children choices, such as, do you want the blue or red shirt? Do you want peanut butter and jelly or tuna? Do you want mommy or daddy to tuck you in? Children feel valued when they can make a choice, and sometimes a limited choice leads to the same goal. The child gets dressed. Offer choices in as many situations as appropriate to help children gain a sense of control, as well as help them internalize what there is more than one way to react or do something. Providing children with opportunities to make choices helps them learn how to make a good choice. Start with just 2 choices for young children. Also know when not to give a choice, as some situations may demand a specific response, and choice is not an appropriate strategy. When thinking about situations, save this option of not giving a choice for those situations that really demand that a choice is not appropriate. For example, you have to hold my hand when we cross the street. It is not a choice. Choice boards, as you see in front of you. Here's an example of a choice board to help young children learn to make choices. You can use photos, pictures from toy catalogs, or clip art to help children make choices when they are sad, angry, or engaging in aggressive or unsafe behaviors. This choice board can relate back to when we remember talking about the small box of calming toys also. So you could have that available to them in their choices. First then statements can be helpful to help young children complete a task because they know what is coming next. It is something they want. For example, first we go to see the doctor, the non-preferred activity. Then we go to the playground. First, pick up your blocks. Then you can use the computer. First, brush your teeth. Then I can read you a story. First, calm down. Then I can listen to you. Reflective listening. Use reflective listening when a child is sad or angry and you cannot change what is happening or there is no immediate solution. This helps children learn the name that goes along with how they are feeling. You're naming that emotion. It also conveys empathy that you understand what is happening and it honors their feelings. When using reflective listening, the adult states the emotion they see in the child and follows that with a statement of what probably caused the emotion. For example, you could say, I see that you are sad because it's time for bed and you want to keep playing. You could expand this by showing further empathy with a statement such as, sometimes I feel sad too when I have to stop doing something I like to do because it is time to do something else. Show them that you have sad feelings also. Planned ignoring. Planned ignoring is a parenting technique in which caregivers make a conscious effort to ignore certain behaviors to prevent reinforcing them. This technique works best with behavior that is designed to gain or avoid something, such as getting attention or avoiding bedtime. Planned ignoring is paying no attention to a child when he or she is misbehaving. It means not looking at your child and not talking to him or her while he or she behaves that way. For example, if you're having a family meal and your child is bouncing up and down on his seat, you could leave him out of the conversation and not look at him until he stops. When he stops, you could say, I love it when you sit still on your chair at dinner. Why don't you tell us what you did at preschool today? The key is to reward your child with lots of attention when he or she is behaving well, but don't give any attention when he or she misbehaves poorly. Be consistently paying and withholding attention like this. You can help shape your child's behavior. Why does planned ignoring work? Planned ignoring works because your attention is a big reward for your child. If your child behaves in a particular way and gets your attention, he or she is likely to behave that way again. But if you ignore the behavior, it's less likely to happen again. So attention for good behavior usually leads to more good behavior. And attention for poor behavior usually leads to less poor behavior. Because your attention is such a big reward for your child, sometimes it doesn't matter what kind of attention you give him or her. A reaction to poor behavior is better than no reaction and attention at all. So even criticism or disciplining could feel like a reward to your child and can actually lead to more unwanted behavior. Be prepared. Behavior that's ignored often gets worse before it gets better. We've said that before. Children might whine, complain, or nag more, hoping you'll respond. You should consider this when deciding whether to use planned ignoring as a behavior tool. Your resolve may be tested. Consequences. Consequences that are natural and meaningful can be very powerful. Some examples might be, you threw your sandwich on the floor, now it's gone. You broke your toy, now it doesn't work. You hurt your sister, now she doesn't want to play. So teaching replacement behaviors. Redirect behavior and showing a child something else to do can be helpful to circumvent unwanted behavior. Redirection is a commonly used strategy and is great for younger children who need to help making good decisions. It directs them to a more appropriate activity to meet the same need or purpose of their behavior. This way you are replacing the non-preferred behavior and teaching a new way to get what they want. You might suggest dancing in a safe area in your house, jumping on a mat if children are running in the house to release energy, or if they are overstimulated, an activity to help them relax and calm, such as blowing bubbles, might be in order. Humor. Never underestimate the power of humor. Using humor to redirect can be an effective strategy when timed well. Knowing when and how to use it is the key. Try to avoid teasing, sarcasm, or using silly names when your child is sad or frustrated. Instead, empathize by saying, "That silly puzzle piece just keeps jumping back out. Sometimes that makes me want to pull my hair out too." Or, "Don't you just want to roar like a lion when that happens?" It's good for us to laugh, and it's good for children to laugh too. Communication strategies. Communicate by using some of the following communication strategies. Using I messages as "I feel sad when you hit Emily" versus "You make me mad when you hit your sister." Give warnings to let children know when things will happen. For example, after dinner, it will be time to take a bath. Use shorter sentences when giving directions, as too many words can make it harder for a young child to understand requests. Keeping statements simple helps children process your message. Make eye contact with your child. Bend down to their level to help gain attention from him or her. Again, reflective listening. Expressing what you understand, what they want, or what your child might be feeling. For example, "I see you are sad because it's time for bed and you had to stop playing." This strategy is particularly helpful when a child is upset and there is no immediate solution to the problem. It also helps children learn the names of the emotions they are feeling. You could go on to say something that shows no judgment of their behavior and emotion by making a statement such as, "Sometimes I feel sad too when I have to stop what I am doing, but then I remember I can do it again tomorrow." Use positive words and paraphrasing versus negative words and phrasing. Words like no, don't, and stop are often overused and tend to lose their effectiveness. They can actually trigger unwanted behavior, as young children may tune out the negative and focus on the other parts of the message. Replace the negative phrase like "don't run in the house" with "remember walking feet." Stop climbing with "feet on the floor." No yelling with "quiet voice inside." Stop crying with "take some deep breaths." Quit screaming at your sister with "tell her to stop." Or no more talking with "it's time for quiet." The size of the problem. Helping children understand that the size of their reaction matches the size of the problem helps them to better understand their feelings and reactions to situations. Once this insight is understood, adults can help children move into problem solving as an appropriate solution. Parents could think about it this way. Ask your child this: "Is this something you can do for yourself? That's a little problem. Is this something you need my help with? That's a medium problem. Is this something you need me to do? That's a big problem." We can model problem solving by talking through problem solving scenarios yourself with statements such as, "I wonder what will happen if I do this. What can I do differently?" Other strategies might be to remind children that for most problems there is a solution or a way to make it better. Assist children in problem solving by helping them think of things that could help. Make up stories about problems and then provide the solutions. First, to identify possible solutions. After children have the idea of problem solving, create stories and ask them for solutions for those characters. Once children have the idea that problem solving is a process, parents can move to assist children with using it themselves when they have problems or situations that arise. When thinking through the problem solving process, cue children to stop and ask, "What is the problem?" Think of possible solutions. Do give it a try. Adult language. It's all in the language adults use with young children. Thinking about using positive phrasing versus trigger words can help young children understand expectations and learn kindness as well. Again, using I messages like "I feel sad when you hit" versus "you make me mad when you hit" helps lower a child's defenses and helps them understand that their actions cause a feeling or reaction in another person. Positive phrasing includes telling a child what they can do versus what they can't do. Adults should not assume children know what to do. Adults need to teach a new preferred behavior to replace the old non-preferred behavior. Positive paraphrasing also helps children to speak positively. Here are some examples. "You can throw the ball, not rocks." "You can dance on the rug, not run." "You can tell Joey to stop instead of hitting him." Avoid trigger words because overusing corrections and words like no, stop, don't, or can't, as these tend to lose effectiveness when overused. Kids tune out. may actually trigger the unwanted behavior as children may not process. For example, you say don't run, child hears run. So some takeaways for today. Early social emotional wellness develops within the context of relationships. Parents help children express emotions, develop emotional regulation, and form close, secure relationships. It is in the relationships with the adults and peers in their life that young children learn to experience and communicate emotions. In order to support the social emotional wellness of young children, adults must be aware of the needs of children and plan to support the social emotional growth of children. After the webinar, you will receive resources for you as parents to really go deeper into what we've talked about today, to be able to, for you to explore and look at enhancing the abilities in which you can help young children develop social emotional skills. If you would like to contact myself or Barb or the other early childhood specialist, Laura Horowitz, that work with us, here's the information in our phone numbers and our website. We have additional information for parents about social emotional development in young children on our website, and you can go on that anytime to gather more information. We want to thank you for participating this evening. Please use the link that is sent to you following this webinar to fill out your survey. Once you fill out your survey, you'll be able to receive all the reference material that we spoke about today, in hopes that those handouts will help you going forward. And now, Laura, I'm going to turn it back over to you to see if we have any questions, possibly from the audience.
Great, thank you, Beth. So before we get started, I do want to share with you, Beth, that Tracy Davenport says hello and that you were her college professor. So I just wanted to acknowledge that she shared that with us.
Hello, Tracy.
So we have several questions. One of them is asking what your thoughts are on using a color chart like the for their emotions, like the 5-point scale. Do you think that would be useful or helpful?
Absolutely. I think it would be helpful for the other reason that we talked about visuals, and that it visually helps children associate and move through those colors so that they can start to identify that as they move through that color scale, that they're having more intense emotions, and it can help them judge how they're feeling. This might be very helpful too when children may not have the verbal capabilities to verbally express to us how they're feeling, but they can point to a color chart to help them identify for us how they're feeling. So I would say absolutely that would be a positive visual to use with children.
Great, thanks so much, Beth. Also, the next question is, what do we do if, when as parents we're working with our grandparents and helping them correctly name emotions such as, don't do that, don't touch that, that's naughty. Do you have any suggestions as parents working to help grandparents understand?
I think you could use the examples that we gave you, turning it into positive, helping them understand the purpose of using that positive language. So again, thinking about telling children what they should do or could do rather than what they can't do or shouldn't do. So helping them reframe those statements, I think, is good advice, and it really gives all the adults in the child's life a consistent way to speak with young children. So I would suggest using the strategies in the webinar.
I would also suggest too that in this situation, if that person asking that question wanted to do a follow-up with RECE-DC, there might be some additional information that we can direct you to or point you to other resources links that could be identifying some printed information that you could present to grandparents, or even sharing some of the resources and web links that we've put on with grandparents to see if they would look at that so that they could see it in writing. Sometimes I know that when we talk with extended family, they can't fully appreciate the things that we're telling them, but if they see it in writing or they see it on a credible source, it might hold more weight for them and assist them in changing their own behavior.
Great, thank you. The next question is, what are the specific milestones kids or students should reach and obtain?
So is there a specific age?
Yeah.
I think, and maybe just to give you some more information of, are there specific milestones that families should be looking at for each age? By this age, they should be able to do imaginative play, for example.
Yeah, so in your handouts, there'll be some information on milestones, and if that doesn't answer the question, again, contacting the Early Childhood Direction Center, Beth or myself, we can get you more resources, but we did include some information on milestones for each age and some positive parenting tips for each of those ages. It starts at infants and goes all the way through middle school, 6 to 8 years in the handout.
Great, thanks. And this is actually not from the same person, but more almost a follow-up. What should someone do if they feel that their child isn't achieving those milestones?
So if you don't feel that your child's achieving the milestones, the first thing you could do is make an appointment with your pediatrician. Go to your pediatrician and talk about that. Look and see what your pediatrician has to say. But ultimately, it is a parent's choice and right to be able to seek out an evaluation for their child. If your child is from birth to age 2, the county Department of Health for the county in which you live, you can make a referral to initiate an early intervention evaluation to assess what your child's current developmental stages are and if they are behind in anything. If your child is in the preschool years, you can contact your school district. Even if your child is not enrolled in a preschool program, in New York State, it is the responsibility of the school district in which you reside to provide and assist you with getting an evaluation for your child to assess their development. Again, if anyone would like to talk with us further about that, we can actually assist you with providing you with the phone numbers for the Department of Health or your school district in that contact information and kind of talk to you about what that evaluation would look like, how it would occur, and how to make a referral to either early intervention or your school district.
Great, thanks. The next one is, can you talk about these teachings of teaching these skills to youth who miss these developmental opportunities due to ACEs and or trauma?
Barb, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, I'm trying to think the best way to answer that. So I think you would approach it the way you would approach a young child. I'm not sure the age of the child that you're thinking of that's experienced the trauma or the ACEs, but I think the foundation is really thinking about those nurturing relationships and being responsive to young children and meeting them where they are. So if developmentally they're younger because of these experiences they've had in their social emotional development, you might use some of the strategies that we provided today. Depending on the level of trauma, there might even be some need for some family counseling to give you specific guidance for the child. So those are some broad answers. Again, if it's a specific situation, I think you could call Beth or myself at the Early Childhood Direction Center and we can talk more specifically. But I think that's a general answer without getting into too much detail about what the child's experienced.
Great, thank you. And this is a little bit similar, where they're suggesting of what are your suggestions for fostering social emotional skills in a child who's developmentally delayed?
So I think you think about where they are developmentally. So where are their other skills? So if they're maybe let's say a year behind, I'll just use that as a broad example, then you might look at what skills you would expect. Say your child is 3 years old, but they're developmentally more like a 2-year-old. You look to see what those skills are at a 2-year-old level, and then what is your goal to get them to the next level. So using developmental milestones and checklists might be helpful for you to think about how to approach the child, what toys might be best, those sorts of things, what kind of interactions. There are some resources, again, in the handouts about talking about feelings and, helping with social interaction, emotional awareness, self-regulation. So I think some of the handouts may be helpful. They're written for that younger population.
Great, thank you very much. The next one is, my local CDC is in Utica. Do I use them, or can I call and talk to you as well?
Early Childhood Direction Center is in...
I'm not sure if they meant to say CDC or ECDC.
Okay. So we would encourage you to call your local ECDC if you had questions specific around resources within your community. It's really important that you develop relationships with your local ECDCs. However, if you're unable to get a hold of them, or because you have questions specific to the information that was presented this evening, please feel free to give us a call, and we can help make a connection between you and your ECDC if you don't know who they are or who to call.
Great, thank you. And yes, it was ECDC. The next question is, what are your thoughts on holding back a child who has maybe an October or November birthday, going to kindergarten, feeling that they may be a young kindergartner?
So I would say that is a very personal family choice. And I don't think that there's one answer for that question because it's so individualized. I would really look at and try to assess where is their emotional and social skill set. If they receive any therapeutic services through preschool, because the child is a preschooler with a disability, talk with therapists. If your child is in a daycare or a family daycare, I would encourage you to talk with your early childhood provider to find out how does your child engage and interact in peer group settings. I would also encourage you to reach out and talk with your school district about finding out what kindergarten is like, what do they do during the day, what type of kindergarten readiness skills are they looking for. And so I think it's a very personal decision, but gathering information right now, if the child is anticipating starting kindergarten in September, is a really great idea. Because if you can start to gather that information now, you can start to sift through it. And then there's always resources like our early ECDC to be kind of able to bounce ideas off of, or find other resources. But I don't know that Barb and I can say there's a answer for everyone because it's very individualized.
Great, thank you. Here's another really great question. What would be some good things for an 8-year-old who is homeschooled that has experienced trauma? Do you have any thoughts or ideas if they're not reaching their milestones?
Well, I think, in the homeschool program, they must I'm trying to think. You want to look at community resources. You know, I mentioned libraries earlier or other play groups. Is there a homeschool network? Often children who are homeschooled, parents are part of a network. So are there social opportunities there? And then, you know, again, depending on the trauma is a tricky one. And so I don't want to give a broad answer or a specific answer. You know, sometimes family counseling is helpful, so seeking out other professionals who might be able to guide parents specific to that child's trauma could be helpful as well.
Great, thank you. And I'm wondering, maybe Beth or Barbara, if you could also share if they are a student who is homeschooled but maybe qualifies for special education services, what they might be entitled to within the school district. That might be helpful as well.
Yes, so if the child has not been identified as being a school-age student with a disability, and you don't feel that they're meeting their milestones, you can still request a referral to have an evaluation done through your school district, even if your child is homeschooled. So if you're feeling that the child may have some delays social-emotionally or in some other areas, you can make a referral to your school district and make arrangements for your child to have an evaluation. If your child is identified to meet the eligibility criteria for a student with a disability, then there could be some additional services that you're not receiving now that would be developed in an individual education program. So again, if you think this might be the case and want to talk further about it, you can contact us at Early Childhood Center, or you could also, I believe, Laura, reach out and talk to someone at your organization. So either way, if you think that that's the case, there is an opportunity to possibly receive an evaluation from your school district, and please don't hesitate to follow up with us about that.
Great, thanks. I'm just checking to make sure there's not any more questions coming in, so I'll give everyone just one more moment while I share with you on February 13th and 28th. It's a two-part series. It's with Jen Romanowski, and she is going to go over understanding challenging behaviors in young children. So please feel free. We're actually kind of filling up, so if you want to get in for that webinar, please feel free to sign up for that webinar. It's free as well. I don't see any more questions, so what I will remind everyone is about within an hour after this webinar is finished, you'll get a link to SurveyMonkey. Please take a moment to fill that out. Again, it allows us to continue to bring these to you for free and share with our funders that we are reaching out to families and professionals. I want to thank Barb Wischnowski as well as Beth Grier-Leva for joining us today with this really great presentation and this information. So thank you.
It was a pleasure, Laura. Thank you as always.
Thank you.
Great. And let everyone know, don't forget about your handouts and how to click on them. If you do have any questions, you can always email me through GoToWebinar. I know I had a couple of questions where somebody said, can I share this with my family? It will be eventually on our website. It takes about 6 to 8 weeks. It will be closed captioned, so you can access it later if you want to send your families to this link. It will be on the Starbridge website as well. Feel free to reach out to Barbara and Beth, who are just a vast majority of information, and we work with them all the time so we can help and support our kids. So thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, Barbara and Beth.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you. Good night.
Have a good evening, everyone. Thank you.
Are we out?
I'm still here. I mean, I think we're out of the webinar.
Oh, okay. So, all right. So I think they shut everything down.
We just X everything out, you think, Beth?
I think so. I think we